everyone, it's Lennon. Today, I was kind of cozy and I was kind of studying. I got my fuzzy pillow, this little shag thing here. And I was studying the Thoth because as one does, you get your shit out and you lay on the couch and you kind of, I don't know, do some, whatever the studying is to you. So I thought I would kind of take you with me today. Now, it's not going to be like a study session, okay? Because that could be an hour or two. But I want to kind of share what I do in terms of studying the Thoth. There may not be people that are interested in hearing how I study the Thoth specifically, but I thought for people who are coming at this like the Book of Thoth is your study guide, or if one of the books that you have, like Lon Milo DuQuette's book, Gerd Giegler, Angela's book, which her book is fantastic, okay? Any of the other Thoth Companion books, the Thoth Companion, whatever book you use, like primarily, because I have all those books, but primarily I use the Book of Thoth. It just seems to be where I'm going to go. Or Lon Milo DuQuette's, but normally it's just the Book of Thoth. And I have the Book of Thoth and my composition notebook, because y'all know me, that's just where I'm going to go. And I've got, some pins in here to where I was at previously. But for those of you that come at studying the Thoth like it's like that deck is an exam, like you got you've got the deck, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to study for this exam. I want to kind of alleviate some of that anxiety around it, because I've literally been sitting here for 10 minutes and was able to get some revelations. Okay, now I'm not going to say that it's always going to be easy, but I don't know. I just wanted to share a simple little tidbit, to add to Thoth Thursdays, because I feel like it could be relevant. Like if someone even remotely starts thinking about doing it in similar ways, it could just make the whole process easier. So I wanted to share what I was doing before I hit the record button. Okay, so what I do is I take the deck, okay, and I shuffle it and pick a card or two or three. Okay, now let me back up just a second. I learned the Rider-Waite-Smith system in a very card by card by card by card way. Starting with the majors, ending with the minors, right? It's usually the King of Pentacles that you end with, or the King of Wands. I very much did it like that. And I learned card by card by card, wrote them in order in a notebook. And it did help, but what really helped me was actually shuffling. That helped so much, because what learning card by card by card for me did was it didn't allow my brain to compute meanings, symbols, and all of that in a randomized way. I would still be thinking, even though I do think of tarot in general as cyclical, okay, I just was constantly thinking of its position in its order, like when you think of things like I was alphabetizing the deck, right? Like when I would be trying to alphabetize a list, I'd be like, okay, this A, it's A, but its second letter is U, so that goes down here. And it's like, I was constantly thinking about the order instead of what I needed to be focusing on. So randomizing the cards that I would learn at any given time was how I wanted to learn the Thoth, I guess you could say. It very much actually helped me to plug into each card. And I think I sat better with what I came up with instead of the alphabetized list meanings of tarot. So I pulled the 9. Okay, my fingers are wonky. I pulled the 9 of Wands. Sorry, glare. 9 of Wands, which is strength. That's the key word. And the Prince of Cups. Right? Now, as I pulled the 9 of Wands, okay, first, I went to, the Book of Thoth. And of course, I read a little bit, you know, of, here, let me get rid of my fuzzy pillow for a second. I read a little bit about the card, okay? But sometimes in the paragraphs that Crowley gives you, sometimes it looks like this, okay? This is actually swiftness, strength, which is the card I pulled, is down here. But it looks like a little, you know, 1 or 2 paragraphs worth of information. Now, not that whole passage is going to make sense. A lot of it doesn't make a fucking bit of sense. Some of it references other works by Crowley, or, you know, other works in general, like the KONX OX PAM, something like that. Anyway, it's a or the Vision and the Voice, which are works inside other works that he has published. Okay, if that makes any sense. And sometimes it's like a poem or a link to a memory or a thought that he's had about something that he wanted to plug in to that card. Which, if you go back and read some of the things in the Vision and the Voice, and the story about this princess, I think that's KONX OX PAM, whatever the hell that thing's called. It's a book about this princess and her fairy lover or some shit. Anyway, it was a weird story. But there was like a little bitty sentence or two that he would reference in the back of this with 1 card. And I'd go back and read that passage and I'd be like, oh. So in this instance, she's being greedy, right? So it's kind of like he took so many things and plugged them in. So sometimes, okay, I'm rambling, but sometimes the sentence, you'll pass the sentence and it'll just go woo, in one ear and out the other. But I wanted to reference something in the 9 of Wands. Now, I read the little bit where it's about the actual card, okay? But then if you go back in the book, there's another whole section where he says the 4 9s. So, you know, you kind of have to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And inside the 4 9s section of this book, it says the 9 of Wands is called strength. It is ruled by yada, yada, yada in the Vision and the Voice, which is that story that I was telling you. Okay. It says, the student should also consult the works of any of the better mathematical physicists. Okay. So that already got me thinking that the strength here, it being wands, so it being actionable, something that's either actionable or something that's stopping you from being actionable, is kind of where I'm going with the whole physics thing. Is something's in motion, something's trying to get in motion, something's moving, okay? It's movement. And then I got to thinking of the key word, which is strength. And the picture, which I've always thought about balance, strength and balanced, okay? That when things that are keeping your momentum up or down, it's about keeping that balance, that sacred balance. And then somehow what these, the 8 wands that are behind this one in the front that shows the balance, it's kind of linked like a shield. And that's always like, I keep thinking, every time I see this card, I think of a turtle shell, like Ninja Turtles. Like how they constantly have that shell there, you know? And so it was always about balance to me. But going back to what he says, or I'm continuing, of all important doctrines concerning equilibrium, balance, This is the easiest to understand, that change is stability. That stability is guaranteed by change, and that if anything should stop changing for the fraction of a second, it would go to pieces. Okay? So again, I'm getting a movement vibe. I'm getting something moving, something twirling, right? It is an intense energy of the primal elements of nature. Call them electrons, atoms, anything you will. It makes no difference. And then on to where it really got me. This is why in learning to ride a bicycle, one falls in an extremely awkward and ridiculous manner. Balance is made difficult by not going fast enough. So also, one can draw a straight line. One cannot draw a straight line if the hand shakes? Right? This card is a sort of elementary parable to illustrate the meaning of this aphorism. And his aphorism is change is stability. But the riding, that one thing, riding a bicycle, learning to ride a bicycle, and how if you're not going fast enough, you're going to fall down, right? And that stuck so hard because, of course, the card to me is about balance. And it is about keeping your balance, but it is also about letting go of, because when you think about riding a bike and your training wheels come off, like go back to your childhood with this, that you almost have to let go of fear to pedal faster, because eventually, okay, because it doesn't happen right away when you're learning, but eventually you learn that the faster you're pedaling, the easier it will be to stay up. So it is balance, but it's also about the strength it takes to let go of that fear to keep the balance. Because sometimes there are other factors like velocity involved. And it's not like a hobby horse where you're completely in control. You've got the stick with the horse head. It's a hobby horse. You're completely in control of that. But a bike, putting your feet up, there's so much anxiety surrounding putting your feet up on the pedals that the parents and guardians, they try to alleviate that fear from you somehow. It doesn't work like that. Eventually it clicks in your brain the more you practice with learning, that it takes that letting go of the fear to get moving. Okay? And I think that that's what this card means. Strength in balance. And letting go of the fear surrounding that. Because ultimately I think that the fear would be what stops you from moving. And the riding the bike analogy just fits so well. And when reading the book, like I said before, a lot of things aren't going to make sense. You're going to be like, what in the hell is he talking about? Defense, to be effective, must be mobile. But see how it's like old English. It's like he's talking in a different English. And you kind of got to read it 17 times to get it, and it still may not work. But that's what I look at, right? I kind of look at that. And then I went back to the 9 in blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to show you this because what's in the back, what I call a turtle shell, it's like almost like a shield that this balanced wand has on its back now. It's let go of the fear, and some of that's kind of gotten shoved back onto that shield, kind of like we do with the shadow, I guess. But it says the wands have now become arrows. See, because they have feathers here, and these these crescent moons down here. That's supposed to be your arrowheads, I guess. But you can tell that they've become arrows. There are 8 of them in the background, and in front is one master arrow. So actually, that's not supposed to be the moon versus the sun in this balanced way. I just took it that way, and it did make sense. Maybe, Frida Harris had it going on. I'm convinced that she knew exactly what she was doing. But so the sun here is a feather, or whatever you call those pieces of feathers that are at the other end of an arrow. This has the moon for its point and the sun as the driving force. And then it goes on to talk about the tree of life. The flames in this card are tenfold, implying that the energy is directed downwards. So you see, like, the arrow, this is the point, this pointing down, like we're pointing down at something. Anyway, so all of this, because it's got, of course, it's got like astrology and it's got the tree of life associations with it, but I got the meaning. Sorry, I had something stuck in my teeth and it popped out on my tongue. I'd always thought of this as a balance card, even though the key word is strength, and even though nothing would really suggest that it's balance. But because of just the picture. And then I got to thinking, well, how is strength balance? And I was like, well, if I'm walking across a balance beam, there's a lot of strength, core strength that I would need to walk across that. Not to mention, you know, if I'm not confident in my walk and my ability to keep balance and keep time, okay, I'm talking in gymnastics, I'll fall. Same thing with riding a bike. And when he references that in here, it clicked, right? I had all those thoughts before I read the bike, but then when I read about the bike, I thought that is exactly right. You know, there are so many times in our lives where we're faced with something or we begin something and we don't realize that what is stopping us from moving, or what we don't realize is stopping us, is this imbalance we have between like our brains and our mobility, I guess you could say, because sometimes our brains are like, do not do this. You don't have it in you to balance this beam, you know, to be on this beam or to ride this bike. Your brain just screams at you, but it's only screaming at you because it can't process something that you've never done before. Remember that. Your brain can't process something that you have never experienced before. You have to experience something for your brain to actually shut down, shut off, or to shut up. So, anyway, next card. Next card was the Prince of Cups. Now, I tried to do this study session in that it would be like a reading. Like I got this first and then this. But I used the bicycle analogy. I kept with the bicycle analogy. Like I was trying to, either I was trying to learn how to ride a bike or I was trying to teach someone how to ride a bike. Okay, so we're just going to kind of go with that analogy. And you flip back to again, there's probably multiple places in the Book of Thoth that references the court cards, but I'm just going on the main section. It looks like this. See, that says Knight of Cups, and then over here, Prince of Cups and Queen of Cups. So, a lot of information in here. And the very first, second sentence under the Prince of Cups, I'll read the first two. The Prince of Cups represents the airy part of water. Okay, that always made me think of steam. It also makes me think of mist, and it makes me think of fog. It says, on the one hand, elasticity, hydrostatic equilibrium. There's that word again, equilibrium. It got me excited because I was like, bam! If this had been a real reading and I was learning how to ride a bike or teach someone how to ride a bike, I would hyper focus on the word equilibrium and then go down some rabbit holes as to what that may mean in terms of riding a bike. And of course I would land, I guess pun intended, I would land on the balance. I would land on finding a way to hold yourself up. Okay. That's what the lesson would have to focus on, is that if I had to teach somebody today, it would be about shut your brain off, activate your core, get your feet moving. In that order. And then your whole body is lined up. Your brain is shut off. Your hands are steady, you know? Think about when you're teaching to drive a car, same thing. 10 and 2. Don't move your hands. So it's just, that equilibrium just came up, right? Talks about his wings, bears a cup, yada, 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 yada. He possesses an innocence and purity which are the essence of his nature. But he is on the whole so superficial that it is hard to reach this depth. His name is writ in water. Which to me that meant like sands of an hourglass. No, I'm just kidding. These are the days of our lives. Like footprints in the sand. It is writ in water, which means you can't write in water. So he's one of those blase blah people, you know? It says he is on the surface susceptible to external influences. Right. Your brain. What kind of road are you on? Are you on gravel? Because I learned to bike on fucking gravel, okay? Like a gravel road. Well, because that's all we had growing up. Are you on pavement? Are you on grass? Right? Are you on sands? Like, what is the ground? What's the weather? Is it really windy? I mean, because if you're a kid, you're 6 years old trying to learn how to ride a bike, and it's really windy, that could be one of those factors, right? So susceptible to external influences, but he accepts them only to transmute them to the advantage of his secret designs. So it's almost like whatever the external forces are when you're riding that bike, it's about using that to your advantage. So if you're on gravel, somehow learn the difference between riding a bike on gravel versus pavement. It's kind of what I get from that. He is thus completely without conscience in the ordinary sense of the word, and is therefore usually distrusted by his neighbors. They feel they do not and can never understand him. So the Prince of Cups would be like that stereotypical neighbor that's in some kids movies where the kids either play around trying to get to the house or go over the fence, but as soon as this old man comes on the front porch, they all run away because they're scared. Because somebody once upon a time has said that he's evil, or his house is haunted or something, you know. And he's just a man, you know, he's just a normal man. But somehow he's got this je ne sais quoi that people don't understand and they never will. But he's just a person. It's just his personality not to engage, not to be like friendly when there doesn't seem to be a point. A recluse, right? And people consider that evil. But my point is that if the Prince of Cups is like that, then this is about conscience. Like your Jiminy Cricket, okay? That if this was really the neighbor that no one likes, or that is evil, you need a little bit of that quality to ride the bike. You know, you can't worry about falling down. You can't worry about getting scratched up, because a lot of those things are inevitable when you're learning. So it's almost like take the conscience, you know, flick Jiminy Cricket right off and go. Just pedal, you know. So this whole reading, riding the bike thing is how I study. Because to me, immersing yourself in the study of tarot, of anything that you would do in a non-school setting, okay? I do want to say that if you are no longer in school, you are no longer studying for actual exams that have actual grades that will go on a record, and you're just like me, you just study for the act of it. I do it in this way because I feel like play is a huge part of studying for me. If I don't like it, I'm gonna eventually just put the book down and never pick it back up. There has to be a way that I can let my imagination go. There has to be a way that I chase rabbits with my mind. There has to be a way in which a lot of the study is play. Now I'm envisioning myself and teaching my own kids how to ride bikes. And I did that through the tarot, you know, like, and no matter what people say about, you know, using the Book of Thoth, I was able to get that analogy straight from this book. Now, like I said, there could be, I mean, there's tons of information here. This is the Prince of Cups page. That's a shit ton of stuff. And only this little bit that I that I highlighted was usable to me at the moment, you know, at when I first started. I highlighted the book. The very first time I read it cover to cover, I highlighted what I thought were important parts. And still to this day, that's largely the only good thing you're going to get out of Prince of Cups. But to me. So it's like about that. It's about playing, not being too hard on yourself. Because like I said, at the beginning of studying, I wanted to be so severe in how I studied because I thought that there was supposed to be this right way. And when I started just, you know, getting my fuzzies and just kind of picking it up like this and okay. See, like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not doing nothing but reading and trying to form links in my brain between cards, between certain sentences, trying to kind of, like, on the way back burner of the stove that is my mind, I'm thinking about the astrology, you know? So, anyway, I've been on long enough. I've been rambling. I hope that you got a little bit out of this, I guess. I do write down my findings in my handy dandy composition notebook. So there is that. Like the riding the bike thing, I did write down. This happened to me this morning. Like I was doing it, the analogy popped out about the bike, and then this reclusive neighbor that is the Prince of Cups. I'm like, huh. So it's about, like, you know, with that reclusive neighbor, it's about getting to know him on his level, not what you think is his level. How does that relate to riding a bike? How does that relate to equilibrium and balance, you know? It's just about linking it all. And if you link it to the real world, that's something else for your brain to be able to process. These are just my opinion. However you study and you actually get something out of it that will help you on your journey of reading tarot is the right way. I'm not saying this is the right way, but this has really been helping me. Incorporate some play, incorporate some real world things, and hopefully you get at least one good sentence from every card that's in this book. Let me know your thoughts below about studying the Thoth Tarot. Like I said, this was just to share a little bit on Thoth Thursdays about Thoth study love. So I hope to see everyone again. Much love.